Today's news interview with Gary Francione, vegan ingredient lookup, and how to be a vegan author. Also recipes and your voicemails. On location from the Peaceful Prairie Sanctuary, this is the Vegan News. Welcome to the Vegan News, the show where we treat veganism as if it were normal. I'm Adam Kahanowitz, and I'm here at the Peaceful Prairie Sanctuary with Michelle and Chris, who own the sanctuary. Michelle and Chris, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for having me out here. Your hospitality is incredible. So tell me about the sanctuary. What kind of animals do you have in it?
Well, it's a farmed animal sanctuary, technically, but everyone here, all of the residents, were former victims of some sort of egg, dairy, or flesh production. And many of them, if not most of them, were actually rescued from the small family farm situations, the so-called cage-free, free-range farming. And we can tell you, and they can tell you, that those systems are in no way acceptable in any possible way. Every single one of these former victims are now survivors, but they had all been exploited, their families had been destroyed, and Peaceful Prairie Sanctuary serves to try to reconnect every one of these with their new family, their new adopted extended family, and most of them adjust pretty well to it, considering the trauma and exploitation and horrors that they experienced before they got here. But every single one of them deserves this opportunity to have as close to a life as they deserve to have now that they've been bred and put on this planet for purposes that were meant otherwise for human consumption. And we're so glad that they're here because they really do the talking for us. We do a lot of vegan advocacy and outreach, but we hear quite often from people who have had the opportunity to come out and take a tour and visit these guys that they may have received a pamphlet or seen videos off and on and heard about why people want other people to stop contributing to the egg, dairy, and flesh production and consumption lines, living a non-vegan lifestyle. But they'll write back and say, after visiting Peaceful Prairie and meeting someone like Justice, meeting someone like Henrietta, meeting someone like Petunia, meeting all of these someones and seeing them as their whole person with their new extended family, really was the home run, and letting them know that that's just it. They can no longer support any of that. And we also try to help them figure out how easy it is for them to transition to that, from being non-vegan to vegan. We've got our mock grocery store downstairs. We've got, we can tell them to what online resources and what library resources, those kinds of things are available. But really, first and foremost, is just understanding why. In no way can you put any of them through what they have been through and call yourself a humane, empathetic, decent person.
Yeah.
You just can't.
And some of these animals that you've brought here who have endured this kind of trauma, whether it be, like I saw the chickens, they've been debeaked and they're missing feathers. I've seen the goat who was used for basically forced lactation. And do you see a sort of turnaround with them once they're brought into this environment where they're turned around more into a natural setting, they get better, more social?
Sure, most of them figure out by hanging around with some of the other animals that have been here longer that it's okay. They don't have to be frightened all the time, and they can just live their life the way they want. Sometimes we get animals that have been so horribly mistreated or abused or segregated from reality as a production animal that they have no idea how to be a goat or how to be a pig. And just by hanging around with some of these others, they learn. They say, oh yeah, I should be hanging out with these other goats. Or in the case of Petunia, she was a breeding sow. She doesn't want to be around other pigs so much because as a breeding sow, she had all of her babies taken away from her, so she never learned how to form relationships with other animals. So she's kind of a loner, but she whenever she wants, she gets up and walks around and goes and visits Justice and Juliet, or hangs out with the goats or the llamas even, or to watch a chicken that has been rescued and brought out here. to actually touch the ground for the first time in their life, and they take these really awkward, clumsy steps. They don't know what to do. They're used to having wire cages underneath their feet, and then
or even in these cage-free.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a confinement, and then
Cage-free is just one big cage.
And they've never met a rooster before.
Yeah.
These brothers, they've never heard a rooster crow before, and they meet a rooster for the first time. And then, like he was saying, some of the animals that have been here longer than some of the other ones will teach them how to just live their lives, and in a way where they can call the shots. They can decide when they're going to eat, when they're going to sleep, when they're going to go out, when they're going to come in,
who they're going to hang out with.
Yeah, who's going to be their friends, who's going to be their family, who's going to now,
this is interesting.
Be their enemies,
I think
whatever.
the public thinks of the cage-free facility or the free-range facility as the sanctuary, but if you just take one visit here, I mean, you're rescuing these chickens from these free-range.
Yeah, we've got 100 hens that
and
came from a so-called free-range facility, and they got here in just horrid shape.
Yeah.
And even in these seemingly idyllic backyard situations where people might have 6 or a dozen chickens running around their backyard, because now this is another new horrible thing that's happening in all of these municipalities, local municipalities, one after another are passing these ordinances allowing people to keep backyard chickens.
Yeah.
Well, I've got an email that I just got this morning from someone who now has 6 roosters because, as she put it, they were sexed incorrectly. So of course, none of these ordinances allow roosters. So so now, of course, she doesn't want them to be killed, but she wants us to take them. But she also has some hens, so she wants to keep the hens, and then she's going to go back to the feed store and replace these roosters. So the point that we've got to try to always make is, well, those roosters, it wasn't that they were sexed incorrectly; they just weren't killed there. They're going to be killed either way. So,
right.
If you're going to participate in this, you are participating in the murder of, for every egg-laying hen, a rooster's been killed. And if somehow they make it through the sexing process, then what? We're not going to take every single one of these oops mistakes so that people can continue to feel good about themselves and go back and get some more hens to replace these roosters. Because for every one, they're coming from hatcheries where, and it's not only all the roosters that are being killed at the hatcheries, whether they're in these backyard operations or not. Often the hens are missexed too, so quite a few hens end up getting ground up alive. Yeah. And then you've also got the quote spent hens. They don't lay the eggs at as fast a rate as they get a little bit older. So, we got a call not too long ago from someone who had a dozen spent hens, and actually she had called the wolf sanctuary because she wanted the wolf sanctuary to take them to feed to the wolves, her live spent hens, so she could go out and go get some more. And the wolf sanctuary wouldn't take them. But, this is the kind of thing that there is, without question, whether it's a small little backyard operation, a big intensive so-called free-range operation, or the battery cage, that exploitation is across the board. That's not what they belong doing. And you'll see when we go up there and visit the hens, those eggs belong to them. When they lay eggs, unfertilized eggs especially, then they're going to eat those eggs themselves. They don't belong to us. We've got no business enslaving these girls, I don't care how great a life these people are supposedly giving them, they're getting them from hatcheries. As long as they're just keeping that whole industry going, whether it's a dozen or so, and they want us to take the spent hens, they want us to take the roosters. We can't take every single one, and the only time that we will agree to take some of these backyard situations is if the people will sign a relinquishment form and turn over all the hens as well, and then agree to not ever start up another one of these operations and go vegan. And we've had, not all of them will go along with that, but we have had some that will. And the ones who won't have certainly now realized that there is no warm, fuzzy way of going about doing egg production, period.
And then
the blood's on your hands no matter what.